Girls here. Thanks for coming on today's episode. This week, like every week, I'll be talking about natural living and healthy tips that will get you to rethink how you live and what products or habits you can easily change to better your life. So let's get started. Hey, Urban Wisdom fans. I hope you've had a great week. Well, our topic is making syrup from Boxelder trees with Louis Legge. And you guys might recognize his name. We also did a series with him, not a series, I guess just an episode of heritage corn where there's some great information on that. So Louis Legge is just kind of an all-around guy. And it's that time of year, we're syrup making season. And so a curious group of us headed on over to the Legge farmstead, where not only grinding heritage corn happens, but also the tapping of Boxelder trees. Legge has been tapping Boxelder trees since 2016 and has kept very detailed records each year to perfect the process and taste. Now, Legge first started when a friend of his from Mandan, who has just as many bad habits as I do, got curious about collecting and started. I said, this is going to happen here. Legge considers bad habits to be tapping trees, making rhubarb wine, building a root cellar, and of course working on his sawmill, among other things. Now, what is a Boxelder tree? It's an easy to grow, very adaptable tree that is in the Acer family of trees, which includes the maple. The wood of Boxelder trees is soft and has no commercial value. Boxelder tree facts tell us that it usually grows on riverbanks or near water in the wild. These trees help to shelter wildlife and stabilize stream banks. However, in urban areas, they are considered a type of weed. Some Boxelder maple trees are male and some are female. The female bear blossoms that turn bright green when they pollinate, and it looks spectacular, you guys. Now, most people do not care for Boxelder as the tree's wood is weak, which does not hold up to wind or ice storms. The seeds also germinate very easily and can become a nuisance to keep out of your flower beds or gardens. And let me tell you what, I just got done weeding today these Boxelder tree sprouts out of my garden, and it is very annoying, but they are great for making syrup. So what you need to know to tap a Boxelder tree, including supplies. Tapping a tree is not difficult, but the entire process does take time and attention. Researching what type of product, for instance, plastic versus metal, also takes time. Speaking of plastic versus metal, when tapping trees in the northern country, plastic is preferred as it is cheaper and will not freeze. Legge explained, you can order your supplies online or look for used. People often try to tap and find out the work involved, so you can find taps for very cheap, and most times they are brand new. Normal prices range from 60 cents to $2 per tap, depending on what type you get. The ones for 60 cents work just as well. Legge purchased some of his lines, which connect to the taps, from www.usplastic.com. Please make sure they are food grade. The lines go into an ice cream bucket with a lid and hole in the center. The bucket sits on the ground. And you guys, I have pictures for every step of the way. If you go to heatherearls.com/making Boxelder syrup, you are going to see that. Now, when do you start tapping your Boxelder trees? Legge starts tapping his Boxelder trees about the second week in March, as freezing temperatures are needed at night and warm temperatures are needed during the day to help the flowing or pumping process of the sap. Then once the buds start to come out, it's time to leave the tree be. When drilling into a Boxelder tree, use a 5/16 bit and drill 1.5 inches deep and about 2.5 to 3 feet from the base's bottom. If you drill into the same tree the previous year, move your tap over 6 inches and continue the same method each year following. Tap into the tree until it bounces. This means you have a good seal but won't hurt the tree. Now the tap stays in day and night. Once your tap is in, you need some kind of line where your syrup can go. If you plan on tapping over 50 trees, you may want to set up a system where the taps are connected and flow into one large tank or container. However, if you are tapping less than 50 trees, Legge's method works well. Now, collecting the sap and what it looks like. Your sap will look clear when it comes out. If using buckets versus having your lines go into a tank or large container, you need to check them often to prevent overflowing. If the tree is really running, I get about an ice cream bucket full each day, Leggy stated. Now, once you're in the throes of collecting sap, it's pretty hard to boil. So Leggy created a clean place to store the sap using 55-gallon drums with a lid. Again, you guys have pictures of this. You can use a screen to get large pieces of debris, but Leggy said not to worry about the small pieces as the boiling process will take care of them. Until the collecting portion is finished, the sap stays free of vermin and debris. Now empty your buckets into your large drum or sealed barrel. Continue this process until you have finished collecting from the trees. Once finished, pull your taps. Leggy modified a crowbar by grinding and rounding out the center to prevent breaking the taps or damaging the tree when he removes them. Now, the boiling process. Boiling produces a lot of steam, so unless you want to remove all the wallpaper in your house, Leggy recommends boiling your syrup outside. Using a 3-tier system, the syrup is boiled in 3 metal containers at different heights, so different temperatures are reached. Using Leggy's homemade setup, he rotates the syrup from one container to another as it cooks, picking every BTU, which is a unit of energy. He can. One pan warms, the next one starts to boil, and then the middle container holds the final product, which constantly gets added to as it cooks down, with the final temperature using the outside boiler being brought to 212 to 213 degrees. Like he said, as the transferring and process continues, the middle container will become more concentrated as the sugar level is really high and the water level is really low. This means the process will speed up. So you can use different depths of steamer pans for this boiling down process. Don't forget to skim your sap using a large metal spoon as it cooks into syrup. And that's some of the debris is going to come to the top in like a foam type. You're just going to skim that off and discard of it. There are minerals also that float to the top, and you just want to kind of get those out of the product. Now, if you cover your pans and continue to boil through the night, make sure your lids are elevated and slanted so condensation does not build up, as it will change the flavor or ruin your syrup, Leggy warns. He also said people are tempted to use a barrel stove, but often it will not get hot enough. Now, once all 220 gallons of sap are rotated through the boiling process, which is until it hits the sugar stage. Now, this is just the 220 gallons is what Leggy collected. Whatever you guys, or whatever amount you're collecting, the time difference of how long it takes to boil is just going to change. So we finish off the syrup inside using a propane or on the stove, as the temperature is easier to control to the final stages. You do not want to go higher than 215 or 216 degrees, or you will end up with rock candy, Leggy warned. It stays in suspension and will not crystallize if you do not go past the 216 Fahrenheit degree temperature. Now, bottling your syrup. Once you have your finished Boxelder tree syrup, store it in any used bottle that you can recap. Leggy uses Corona bottles as he likes to see the final product. He does not drink, but gets them from a friend and then cleans and has them ready. He also has a capping machine, so everything is done on the Leggy farm. The capping costs 4 cents per bottle. Now, how much sap do you need to produce 1 gallon of finished Boxelder syrup? Well, the ratio of finished syrup to sap collected is 65 to 1. Yes, that is a lot of syrup you need to collect and boil, but the finished product is very worth your time. It's pure, clean, and the flavor is fantastic. Leggy tapped 45 trees this year, which produced the 220 gallons of sap. Now, how to clean your equipment. Leggy recommends using a small amount of diluted bleach, and remember, he's using ice cream buckets and lines. He said soak your buckets, taps, hoses, and lines, and then use an air compressor to make sure you are getting every inch dry. Others opt for vinegar. The sap will mold if it gets too warm, so during the boiling process, any mold in the sap itself will cook out. but you want to ensure that you thoroughly clean your equipment after each use because you don't want the mold growing on your equipment, okay? Now, where to store your syrup. Once bottled, store in a cool, dark place. Leggy builds wooden boxes to protect the glass bottles and have the ability to stack the syrup. I also have a picture of that on there, you guys, on my website, heatherearls.com. Now, once opened, store in the refrigerator. Do you have a new respect for Boxelder trees, you guys? Because I certainly do, and also for the people who collect and make syrup. Leggy and his wife are pioneers in a modern world, preserving heritage and skills passed down from generations. Leggy so graciously gave me a bottle after the interview, and I plan to savor each deliciously pure drop. I hope you've enjoyed this interview and adventure in syrup making as much as I have. And until next time, you guys, stay healthy and free. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Urban Wisdom and Natural Living. Tune in next week where I'll broadcast live every Monday morning at 8 a.m. If you miss it live, hold those tears and head on over to my blog, which is heatherearls.com. That's Heather, EARLES.com. There you can have 24/7 access or right here on iTunes. If you want to follow me on social media, you'll find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Have a healthy week.